that voice that says you can't do something, that one that says you're worthless, ultimately that's your inner critic, and you'll label it as self-doubt, and that's also true. But understand that, like the inner critic, its job's to keep you safe. It thinks it's doing something good for you. Ultimately, it's holding you back. It's like a stress response in your body, right? It sends out stress because it thinks you're under extreme danger. Brain doesn't interpret what sort of danger you're under. A stressful thought, a bad negative thought, is interpreted the same way, and that inner critic will pipe up because it thinks it's trying to keep you safe, but ultimately it's stopping you from growing, stopping you from trying to move forward. So to talk back to that one that says you're worthless or says you can't do something, like I have a set of categoric truths that I go back to, that are written down. Things I've achieved, things I've already done. So when I go to do the next thing that I may or may not achieve, the next big thing, I go back to that set of categoric truths, and you can talk back to it. And that's a useful tool, I find.
Does anyone else have any tools that they use?
I tend to reframe things.
Yeah.
So like, you know, when you fail at something,
Yeah.
and then you instead of saying you failed at something, it's like that was the pre-season. So now I'm ready for the game.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, it's okay to lose here, but I'm not going to lose. But now I go, so it's like reframing a bit.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's that self-compassion. Not being so hard on yourself. It's like you're human. You know what I mean? Like that's what Nathan's talking about with this critic, this critical voice that actually we all have. And until we acknowledge it and know it exists, it just keeps pecking at us the whole day. And then it's no wonder we feel so bad at night, or all of a sudden we're depressed and we don't even know why. It's because it's pecking at you all day and you're not aware of it, yeah? And the only way I became aware of it was when I went in that Buddhist retreat and I was left on my own with no distractions for so long. So how are you going to harness and start to listen to yourselves? How did you get hold of the thought? Like how do you become mindful in those moments?
Focus on one thing, actually.
Yeah.
Just go that one specific, like get rid of the noise.
Yes.
That makes sense. So, and also like breathing in all sorts of different things. But
Yeah, no, that's good.
getting into that flow state to focus.
Totally.
Yeah, and it can be like meditation without labelling, without it being a sit down guided session. You know what I mean? You can drop into that mindset pretty quickly if you get a bit of practice at it. But ultimately, like Warwick's 100% right, it's about decluttering all the other shit and just worrying about that one thing, that one box you got to tick at that point in time. Not the other 100. That's where all the chaos comes in. And that's where you will like start to doubt yourself.
Is anyone else aware of that inner voice?
Yeah, very.
You're very aware of it, yeah. Yeah. And what's it like for you?
It's hard. I think that you've got to learn to let it go too. Because I'm a perfectionist, I used to struggle on days where things just weren't going the way that I wanted them to. But now I've learned to let that go and basically on those days go, tomorrow is not going to be like this. Today is the day that you have to just let things go.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
But I used to go, oh my God, you know.
Yeah.
But now it's just a day I just flow with it and just go, tomorrow's not going to be like today.
Yeah.
And it never is. You always wake up better.
Yeah.
Each day's a new box.
And that's a set of truths that Nathan's talking about. See how that's changed that thought process?
Yeah.
You're not so hard on yourself. Is anyone else aware of that voice? There's someone up the back.
Yeah, Jess, go on.
Don't look behind.
Yeah, that was, I've like similar kind of bit of life issue as Nathan. And then I've felt like some weird traumatic events occur. I've had a stillborn and all that sort of stuff, so all this is making me a bit emotional. But so now helping people overcome drug and alcohol.
Yeah.
Knowing that I was a bit of a shit person back when the guilt and shame I felt from my family.
Yes.
So it was very public.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I've very good my life. I'm very proud of who I am now, but there's always that intrusive thoughts of what I'm doing isn't enough, or I need to. I'm a bit OCD, and I think a little bit like always seeking to better. Even though I've done fucking lots.
Yes.
I've done a really good job to turn like my
Yeah.
shit around.
Yeah.
I've got kids now, like, you know, I'm doing well, but
Yeah.
it's always in the back of my mind, I ruminate a lot
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
on advice I give young people or how my day, you know, I don't know, there's a lot of shit up there. Always pushing me down, but
Yeah.
I have a lot of positive support around me.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But it's hard to, like, you accept it and you sort of, I've got to learn to accept the compliment or the positivity and just sit with it, not
Yes.
like brush it off.
Yeah.
You know, so there's always an imposter syndrome
Yeah.
happening in you.
It's a big one, isn't it?
But I do capture it and I talk to it. Like, it happens the most when I'm cleaning my house. Like,
Yeah.
always, like, I'll ruminate on things that happened like a year ago, or a conversation I had with somebody, or whatever, and I'll play it back in my head, but then I'll verbally out loud address it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, no, Jessie, like, I couldn't have done it this way, or so I'll like make sense of the situation.
Yeah.
Because I now know what makes sense in my house, so I talk to myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do that. I identify it, I pick it apart, and I say it's done. We need to trudge on. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's always there.
Beautiful. And so this is a thing, right? So when you're doing the housework, you're in the zone.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden you're in the second attention. Those thoughts become more prevalent. You're more aware of them. But most people aren't, right? And so by the end of the cleaning job, they're distressed, they're depressed, they're feeling worthless, and they don't know why. They actually don't know why they're feeling the way they do. But you have that self-awareness, enough awareness to know what's going on, to pick up on the rumination and then to turn it around, which is powerful. And so this is where you enter into the warrior zone. I call it the warrior zone. It's like whatever is going on here is no longer going to hurt me. I'm not going to be betrayed by myself anymore. I've been through enough. And then you turn on that inner critic and you're like, I'm going to love myself. Yeah, I made mistakes. I'm human. Look at what I've done. You start to believe in yourself. Tell yourself you're amazing, yeah?
I don't do that, but yeah. But yes, the positive change of thought pattern, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're a warrior. You're on top of it. Thanks for your vulnerability too.
And also, I
Yeah, I
think
appreciate that.
it'd be very helpful to actually write that conversation down you're having all the time. It seems silly, right? But I have like conversations like that with myself, and some of them are fucking, they could be something I did a year ago. But just lately, I've been like going over to my laptop, or like if I don't have my laptop available at the time, a lot of the time I'm driving a truck, I just like I'm having a good conversation with myself, and it's good. And I like got the notepad out while I'm driving. But I'm writing the shit down, and then I like go and catalogue it later. So you're kind of having a conversation with yourself, but you're getting the shit out of your head, because you don't. Once it's literally on paper, it's like putting it in a box and packing it up, putting it in your cupboard. It does not enter your brain again. But if it stays in there, it will just stay in the cluttered up iCloud of the brain, and it'll just keep being replayed on loop.
Yes, and it makes it real when you write it down or you tell a therapist, right? All of a sudden it's illuminated. It's like, this is not true. This is actual bullshit, you know what I mean? Like it just opens it up to be changed. Otherwise it's all in here.
I do a lot of whiteboard work with young people.
Yeah.
And like production plans and stuff. And then once it's up there, it's either overwhelming for them or it's really like, oh, that's actually quite manageable.
Yeah.
So having it up there and in front of you
Yes.
has a good impact. I've got whiteboards all through my house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
My
My whole life's on a whiteboard, I swear. But in your particular job, it's really, really easy to forget about doing that shit for yourself, I know. Because I'm the last person I think about when it comes to structuring my own shit. I don't even have my own workout program.
What?
Yeah, I know.
There's an app for that. There's an app for that. It's called Picture Pad.
Yeah, I know. I shouldn't pay that bloke. I heard he's pretty good. But yeah, having like a plan for yourself in that sense is like, it's actually going to make you better at your job. So if that's your purpose and your why, it's a really good thing to do because,
And it also highlights the fact, like what I was talking about, your mind can be your worst enemy. I mean, that's terrible to think that we are our own worst enemy, you know? And so that's why I do a lot of inner child work, where you come back into that inner child and really get to know yourself and to love that inner child that never got that love, attention and so forth. When I was I've done a lot of work with trauma, I've worked a lot with shamans, so I've worked with the plant medicines, with ayahuasca, with San Pedro. I'm quite well known for this. I got psilocybin with other psychiatrists approved by the TGA for work with trauma. So there's new therapies coming through to help with trauma, suicidal ideations and so forth that we've never seen in Australia. So they've been working with these medicines for years in these other countries with great success, incredible success, yeah? So when I first started working with the shaman and I first walked into the tribe, this is in the Amazon, they said to me, straight off the bat, you're weak. You're weak, you need to be strong, you need to learn how to be strong, was one thing. The second thing was, you're a victim, you're not a hero in your life. And the third thing was, the only evil and darkness that you bring upon yourself at the end of the day is yourself. And it was really powerful and it was really hard to hear. And I've learnt a lot through working with them. They're real warriors, those shaman in the Amazon. I've been through absolute hell rising up into the spaces where they've needed me to rise up into. It's been quite a journey with some of these teachers. So yeah, getting to know my mind and and the traumas that I've witnessed in some of these groups, terrible, terrible things have happened to these people. But it's like at the end of the day, we have to just keep moving forward. We have to, for ourselves, for our children, for our family, we have to get well, because these things are keeping us low, they're keeping us down. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, what's the worst thing that we're doing to ourselves by keeping ourselves down? There's no one else keeping us down but ourselves. We create this glass ceiling that we can't smash through because of all this stuff from the past. And to them in the jungle, that's the only evil. That's the devil. That's how they see it. That's what they call it, the panema, and we all have it. So it's fascinating. It's a different view on things. I just felt to bring it up. Do you have any questions? I'd love to hear any thoughts or expand on anything we've talked about.
Well, I was going to say, is that kind of like no one actually gives a shit about what you say or do except you? Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
I mean, like if you go out and you put stuff on like social media or something like that, like most people don't actually care, and no one really cares.
Yeah.
It's like, so if what's the point in like being critical of yourself? Because it's like, well, no one else is actually being that critical. Like you might be
You're the critic, yeah.
But realistically, like no one actually really cares that much to be that critical of you.
Totally. And that's the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
We never rise up. We're in this imposter syndrome. We never come into our greatness because we're too worried about what other people think. And most of the time it's all in our heads. Totally, I get it.
Yeah, getting through the ceiling. It's a good way to put it. So I'm currently doing an 8-week course on breaking through the ceiling. It's like a personal and professional development course I'm doing. Like on the other side of that ceiling, ultimately to get through the ceiling, you do need a set of structures. You need a new level of awareness of why you're under the ceiling. But once you get through the ceiling, like the possibilities are literally infinite. So doing the work to get through the ceiling, although it's like a fair bit of deep diving and it's like a bit of investment, like doing that deep work can like open up an infinite amount of possibilities. But yeah, thinking it as a ceiling, and when you get self-aware enough, it literally feels like a ceiling. So some weeks and days, I feel like I'm just head-butting something, and that feeling pisses me off. But ultimately, that's the thing I use to drive. Like we all have different drivers. So feeling like because freedom is what I yearn for, like in my soul, spiritually, like freedom is why I do everything. So knowing why you do something is obviously really important. So feeling like I'm hitting the ceiling really butts up against my solar plexus because it's the complete opposite of what I want from my life. I don't ever want to be stuck under something. So like I say in the gym all the time, everything starts with why. So if no one else has got any questions, I'm going to give you a last opportunity. I'm going to bring up the topics that everyone brought up to me.